Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Aaron Bingham. I'm product manager over at BayWa, and I'm really excited to be joined today by FranklinWH. While we have some folks still logging in, it looks like I'll go ahead and take a few minutes to do some housekeeping. So first up, I wanted to let everyone know that they can use the Q&A feature for questions. That's going to be the best way to ask questions throughout the presentation. We'll try to monitor the chat as well, but the Q&A feature is the way to go. So drop your questions in there and I'll do my best to jump in with them as we're going or once we get to the Q&A section. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be joined by Justin Hopkins from FranklinWH. We'll be learning more about the Franklin Whole Home Energy Storage Solution, and we're really excited to be bringing more information about this product to market. First up, I'd like to run through a couple of events that BayWa is going to be participating in coming weeks. So if you're anywhere in the vicinity of either Florida or near our New Jersey branch, hopefully you can join us for these. So first up, we've got BayWa team members exhibiting at the Flacea Solar and Storage Summit. That's going to be happening on May 2nd and 3rd. So come out and find us if you're going to be there. We'd love to chat with you and hear about what's going on in your end of the market. And if you're up in the Northeast or tri-state area, come check us out at our Bordentown branch in New Jersey. We'll be doing a Unirac branch training. So it'll be a great opportunity for folks to get some hands-on training with the Unirac team and come meet our team members out there in the Northeast. That'll be on May 9th of this year. So for anyone who's on the call that's not already a BayWa RE customer, we're going to drop a link in the chat that walks through the 10 reasons why you should be working with us. We're super excited about bringing new solutions to market, and we work hard to make sure that our customers have easy access to product pricing and availability through our web store. So we'd love to work with you, and if you haven't already signed up with us, go ahead and check out that link. You can also go to solar-distribution.com and register for an account with us. Someone from our team will reach out once you've filled out the registration form and we'll get you set up. Awesome. All right, Justin. So let's go ahead and jump into it here. So Justin Hopkins from Franklin is here with us, and he's got some awesome information that he wants to share about the Franklin Whole Home energy storage solution, residential energy storage solution that we just brought into stock very, very recently.
Yeah, well, thank you, Aaron. It's a real pleasure to be here, and you are a fantastic radio voice. So I hope if things ever get weird in the solar industry, you know where to go.
Yeah, I've got backup options. It's good to know.
It's good to go. And you're a great spell checker. So thanks with your help on this presentation. You guys, my name is Justin Hopkins. I'm Director of Strategic Accounts for Franklin Whole Home. Previously, for the last year, I've been serving as a sales director. And it's just been a pleasure and an honor to kind of get on this side of the curtain of an industry I've been working in for close to 15 years. I started a decade and a half ago after purchasing solar for my own home and having a pretty rough experience. Led me into this career path that now has me slinging batteries. So it's a funny industry we ride, and the solar coaster is very real. And for those of you on the West Coast right now, it's never been more interesting, right? With the NEM 3.0, and I know the rest of you.
Today's the day, right? Most people don't have your application in today.
Nobody slept. Like they're all. I was getting texts at like 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. from guys just like lining up their Red Bulls. Yeah, your administrators are working hard. Be kind to them for sure. But yeah, the rest of the country's laughing. I'm like, you guys over there in California finally getting what you deserve, right? With their 50 cents a kilowatt hour energy. So either way, right, we're in a new era. Homeowners are keenly aware that storage is an option for their home, whether it's with solar, whether it's using generators, whether it's just as a standalone battery for backup. The options now with the IRA have changed greatly. And so we're really excited about the Franklin product. It's simple, it's diverse in its ability to work in a variety of different scenarios. There's very few applications where the Franklin doesn't make sense. So, this is why I've kind of detoured my career away from working as an installer and on the B2C side to really strengthening an industry that I love around storage and helping prepare you guys. And we all know this industry is full of people that love to say no, right? Like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you. And this is at Franklin, we are really hyper focused on not only just making a great storage product, but providing excellent service. And so talk a little bit, I guess with the product, we'll start there.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the Franklin battery, one of the first things that you're going to notice is that it's actually really attractive. I've sold and installed most batteries on the marketplace today. And one thing pretty common across the board is they're not all that great to look at. It's like taking your kid into Supercuts and he comes out with a mohawk, right? What happened to my house? The Franklin is an all white aesthetic, and you do have a light up display on the battery, and that blue is not just a light, it's actually a state of charge indicator for the customer.
Oh, very cool.
Right. So it's a simple thing that we really haven't seen in the products, but what it does and what it means is that your customer is going to leave every day, especially if they have a solar system that they're charging the battery with, and they're going to see that they used that energy at nighttime, and that battery display will be low on power. And when they come home from work, at the end of the day, their solar system will have charged their battery. That blue light will be filled, and it's a reminder of their investment. They either sit in the garage or on the side of the house, and so these are typically more keenly visible than solar panels. So we really wanted to make a product that looked good next to a luxury automobile or a house where somebody really took pride in their home and the design of what they did on the side of their house, right? So this was really important to us. But most important than anything, as we move into this new era with batteries, is energy management. It's a weird conversation, right? We're all a bunch of gluttons. We're like the lady in Conehead when she eats the sandwich, right? We just consume energy at like
there's a throwback reference.
I'm not young. If my kid wasn't walking around with an Easter egg on her head for the last 4 days, and that wasn't a high topic of conversation, probably wouldn't have brought it up. But yeah, so be it. So we know, like that most homeowners have no idea about how much energy their solar system is producing versus how much they should be consuming. And that's fine. We don't expect them to, but we at least can maybe give them some tools to not completely flunk the course, right? Like, I love the span panel, what they're doing. I think it's really great. If I give my grandma a span panel right now, she might turn off the lights and never get them back on. It's a fact, right? So we've tried to create an energy management system for the customers. It's really easy to use. So before we dig into the techs, give you guys a little background. I know we're new. We came in pretty hot and pretty loud. And so you're probably asking, like, who is Franklin? Where did they come from? So Franklin Whole Home used to be Franklin Watt Hour, FranklinWH. Believe it or not, we were a bunch of nerds sitting in the back room, manufacturing R&D in this product for the last 3.5, 4 years. So since 2019, this battery has been in development. We're headquartered in San Jose. That's where our corporate offices are, but then we also manufacture and R&D the product over in Shenzhen, China. I spend a lot of time, right, discussing A, what's happening politically, and B, ethics in China and from a manufacturing side. So I want to help clear this up, right? Like, from our end, we have a supply relationship with CATL. They're the largest battery cell manufacturer on the planet, and they're larger than the second and third combined. Infineon, Texas Instruments, all the top component manufacturers for power electronics are based out of Shenzhen. So we saw this as, we want to kind of like farm to table style, right? Be in our backyard, have all the best access to the best materials that are currently being manufactured. That doesn't mean that we're not going to someday manufacture this in the United States. Obviously, that's a big goal of ours, and we see that timeline coming in the next about 18 to 24 months. But realistically, right now, for developing a solid product with minimal issues, we've manufactured and built everything over in Shenzhen. We do make our own inverter, our own components in all of the system. So keep in mind that we are not white labeling anything. We're not bringing any outside sourcing in on that side of like the inverter. We make our own inverter, we make our own battery, we make our own gateway. We have been backed by Sequoia Capital, Oppo Plus. We've gone through our A and our A plus rounds. We just completed our B round, which will be announced shortly. Over 440 employees worldwide. And, again, I want to harken back to that supply chain relationship with CATL. So we tested dozens and dozens of cells on our battery to make sure that we had the best product that was going to be the most resilient, but also followed renewal, our ethics of wanting to be a renewable energy company, right? Our choice of using a prismatic LFP cell really came down to what's going to have a great end of life option, as well as what can we get access to now. And those prismatic cells, guys, are going in the new Tesla Model 3s, the Chevy Blazers, the Ford Lightnings, and they're being made at a rapid scale. So we knew that by committing to this, even though it's more expensive, a little bulkier, a little heavier, by committing to this more resilient cell, that we would have a really robust supply chain relationship for several years. And that's what we signed up for. So, instead of a bunch of battery manufacturers going up to get their cells from cattle, we're in line with the car makers, put in perspective. So 60% of our operation is focused on R&D, research and development. So Aaron knows I always explain this a little funny, but it really is a bunch of guys in a back room, like blowing things up and giggling and laughing and trying new stuff every day. And then when I say we fix things quickly, when our battery came out and that light was scaring an entire neighborhood of people that were like, why are aliens visiting? We were able to put on a timer the next day. So customer complained at 11:30 p.m., 8 a.m., we had a timer built in so that they could shut that off and program it every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we have a few basic tenets, right, that kind of make up the Franklin whole home system. Obviously, we're using a tier 1 battery cell, an EV grade, automotive grade LFP. So extremely resilient, extremely powerful, all-in-one system design. So we are sending this to you completely built, QC'd, and ready to go. It's just a matter of wiring and you're done. This is off-grid capable, out of the box. Our A-gate is. So this system is built for on-grid or off-grid. It does not require any kind of special modification. You would install this solar system into the A-gate on an off-grid system the same way you would on an on-grid system. There's just no grid connection. There's a built-in smart panel, a la Span for Dummies, right? 12-year warranty on our battery. I'll explain how that works. And then this is both whole home backup and also partial home backup, depending on if you have a budget-minded customer, maybe you have a customer who's looking to really, get in on the NEM thing, or maybe you've got a customer who's preparing for the zombie apocalypse. It really doesn't matter. There are so many multiple ways to custom design this for your customer. But most importantly, with our more robust A-gate, you're going to be avoiding a lot of MPUs, whether it's whole home or partial. So we'll dig into that in a second.
And MPUs, just spell it out for anyone listening.
Yeah, smart, right? The land of acronyms in solar.
Yeah.
Main panel upgrade. Thanks. So typically when a customer, you're going to come across these in a different varieties. Maybe your customer has a service panel that isn't rated for the amount of solar that you're putting on the job, right? The A-gate is going to increase that service rating. Maybe you have a customer that's adding electrification to their home. Maybe they're getting an electric car, a hot tub, or an electric stove, and they're increasing the amperage of their panel. That would require a main panel upgrade. Again, Franklin can accommodate. You might have a customer that's getting a huge solar system and they have a big enough panel. It's a 225 amp rated breaker, but because the solar system's so big, you have to make more room on the panel. So you have to derate it down to 175. Again, we have another tool for this. It's going to save you guys thousands and avoid time with meter spots. So again, but just to kind of refresh our last couple slides, EV grade LFP cell. What exactly does that mean and what's the advantage? Well, the battery is safer, will last longer, and is more renewable than its more widely used cousin, NMC, right? So Tesla, SolarEdge, LG, they've all worked with NMC up until now. This is an all-in-one system design, means installation is real easy. There's no DC wire harnesses or all that extra external ATSs and boxes and BOS that goes on the wall. It's already pre-built. The inverter is included in the battery. You've got a very limited amount of balance of system going on the home. This also, because it's prefabbed, is less room for installer error. I used to joke in my sales days that this industry created 500,000 jobs for 200,000 people that should have stayed out of work. It was really hard, right? You had a 50-50 shot with your solar installer, whether they're going to be good or not. And we understand that, right? I mean, I know Generac struggled just with their fans, right? Getting the right sized wattage fan into the battery to keep it cool. Like this sourcing and manufacturing, putting these things together on the job site creates a lot of issues, as you guys know. So as we like to say, the battery is only heavy once, right? It's prefabbed and ready to go. And again, a very versatile system, whole home, partial, off grid, doesn't matter. Franklin's ready to play in the sandbox. So we'll discuss the A power. Again, I'll say that again. This is the A power. That's the name of our battery. This system is going to work with all 240-volt generators. That's Kohler, Siemens,
Wow.
Briggs and Stratton. We work better with Generac than Generac, right? It's extremely friendly. You can even use a portable generator to recharge your battery as long as it's 240-volt. Don't bring one of those 120-volt generators that Aaron uses to power his laptop out in the wilderness.
You caught me.
I see you with your little diesel generator hauling it around. Look at my office for the day on Instagram. I see you.
Van life.
The battery actually works with any AC inverter, guys. Enphase, SMA, Solar Edge. We've got a Xantrax off grid. We've got AP systems. We've seen Growatt, Fronius. Really does not matter. And as we move into an era of retrofit, right, there's 4 million pre-installed solar systems across the United States. And as these NEM programs die off, as they get tired of fires and hurricanes and earthquakes and everything else, this creates real stability, right? And it's going to work with any of those pre-existing systems. It's a 13.6 kilowatt hour. Again, we may know, you guys might be familiar with Tesla's size, which is 13.5. So this is probably the most deliberate battery sizing in the history of the industry. But it's actually a 15 kilowatt hour battery, right? So we're giving the customer 100% usable 13.6. We wanted that top seed, right? But it's actually a 15 kilowatt hour battery. We're under promising and we're over delivering. That 15 kilowatt hours, that extra power in there is going to be used for things like a black start, which we'll define in a minute. It's also going to guarantee the customer is going to get their full warranty cycle, right? We do not have a cycle limit on this battery, by the way. We'll dig into that in a second. It's a 5 kilowatt continuous inverter with a 10 kilowatt peak. So this can run at 42 amps or 10 kilowatt for 10 seconds. So be careful when you're using this to, large appliances, putting on a single battery, because it can start anything. It really can start anything, but it can only run it for 10 seconds. So you want to make sure, right? 5 kilowatt continuous, and that is stackable all the way up to 38 kilowatt continuous or 160 amps, guys. So approximately a little under 8 batteries. All of those are going to be working at the same time to provide output. That's the equivalent of more than 3 Solarc 15s. At the same time, you can increase the gas tank, right? You've got your horsepower peaked at 160 amps. But you can take the gas tank all the way up to 204 kilowatt hour per A gate. That's 15 batteries.
That's wild.
Right.
So I wanna have you pause there just for a quick sec so we can run a bit of a poll for the folks that are on the call today. We'd like folks to go ahead and answer the question, would you prefer a system that is a single unit overall? Let me find it here just to make sure I'm asking it with the correct language. So do you prefer to have a product that you must piece together at install or an all-in-one solution? There's flexibility if you're piecing it together in some ways, but having that all-in-one means it's potentially easier to install. So we're really curious to hear what folks think about this question of all-in-one versus a la carte, I'll say.
Right. That's a great way to put it, right? Because Tesla is known, they're 270 pounds. Our battery is actually significantly heavier than that. But good news is we provide tools and crank dollies and lift trucks and all the different things that you guys are going to need. We're actually, and BayWa is also kind of supporting you guys on arranging some of those things. I know that. So while it's an extremely heavy battery, right, you don't have to worry about your installer hooking it up wrong, having to gut the thing and go back in and reconfigure.
All right. I think we've probably had enough time for folks to drop into the poll and say what their preference is.
Yeah.
Go ahead and close that out and see what the results are here. Should pop up in a sec. It looks like most people, by a margin of 70 to 30, prefer the all-in-one pre-built solution. So you're in the right place, and let's keep learning about the Franklin Whole Home.
Okay. Awesome. So as we discussed a little bit, right? You can stack this again. The system is probably one of the more stackable batteries on the market. I know that Tesla's capped at 10. So we've really encouraged those to, if you've gotten a 10 battery unit, add another one, we'll give you a discount. But the reality is now, as we've expanded, right, we're opening up new capabilities every day, right? We're putting the hardware in to allow things like this. A month ago, it was capped at, if I had to, I believe, like 16 kilowatt or 20 kilowatt peak, right? So overnight we were able to double the output, and this is something that we're really excited about with the features of Franklin, which is consistently being able to upgrade and enhance the system without having to change what's actually in the system. So Aaron, question?
Yeah, I was just gonna make sure we highlight there for folks that you can see that 38 kW max, and then what happens to the available power after, right? The available power continues to rise, even though we've maxed out at 38.4 kW on the max output power. And then there's that peak rating that's really, really interesting, right? It can be up at 76.8, excuse me, kW. Is it up to, it's 10 seconds there on the peak?
Yeah, 76 kilowatt surge, which is actually almost 77, right? So kind of crazy. It's basically small commercial at that point.
Yeah, so many applications, so much potential. So
right,
let's keep rolling.
Yeah. It's awesome. So, just kind of going over the battery before we move into some of the other products. This is a 13.6 kilowatt hour battery, slow roll of the middle finger to our Tesla buddies, and then 15 kilowatt hour total battery, right? Battery is going to work in a multi-day outage when the customer accidentally drains it, because there's power in there to turn on their inverter and when the sun comes back up. A lot of people don't know that their inverter runs off the grid. So when you have self-consumption on a solar system, even though your solar is working, the solar is actually causing consumption of the battery because it's pulling off the grid to run. So in this case, we can start that system back up, and actually it's even if the customer drains it 3 days in a row, that extra power will still be there. So kind of remarkable. But again, we've put in tools that they hopefully don't do that. And then most importantly, we under-promise, over-deliver on this battery, right? The customer's getting a usable 13.6. That's 50% more power than Enphase's usable power on their battery, right? They give them a 10.8, and I think they give them access to 9 kilowatt. So a big difference, big jump, a lot more value. And then again, some of the best stackable power in the industry, the more you add, not only do you add capacity, it becomes more powerful. So 2A powers is twice as much storage and twice as much output. That's why with 2 batteries, you really start running a pretty simple whole home solution here. Versatile. We're working with any AC microinverter or string inverter. And that list is hilarious. Some of you guys have some ridiculous stuff installed on your houses, in your clients' houses, and credit for being early adapters. But the best thing I've seen so far right now is a 2002 SunPower inverter. So wow. Yeah, Bill Brooks had the oldest one. It was a 2004 SMA, but some guy just hooked it up to a 22-year-old inverter. So
it's just graduating from college.
Right. I know. Give it a tequila shot on the way to commissioning. That was great. All right. So real quick, I want to dig into chemistry, and I know we can probably launch this poll in a second after this, but most of the major brand batteries on the market are NMC. Right? Enphase really is the only major manufacturer that has gone the route with LFP. It's heavier, right? It's more burdensome. It's not as compact. It's not as powerful per square inch, but it's more renewable. It's more recyclable. It's less volatile, right? I mean, there's less ethics risk, right? We know that cobalt and nickel, the way that that's being mined is pretty freaky. And then very little thermal runaway. So we've seen the results from the LG calamities, right? But more importantly, LFP is more densely manufactured and more available than all the other chemistries for NMC, and they're being used on a huge, large scale. So, and we can mine, this is something we can mine in the United States. This is something we can mine in Southern America. It's not strictly left to China. And again, guys, we're in the renewable energy industry, right? We got to think about the environment when we are choosing our products. And at the forefront of everything we do, we are not in here to dump a bunch of silicon and metal and unrecyclable materials onto homeowners for the name of riches, right? Hopefully you're not, right? We want to think ethically, and we want to source, and we want to do things with some kind of character, right? And frankly, and I'm happy to ask this question. Why don't we throw this poll up here? I think this is a good time to ask it.
Yeah, let's do it. So our next poll that will be popping up for folks is, what would you rather install in your own home? So this is not, as a part of your sales practice, but what would you want in your garage or attached to your house? LFP or NMC? We'll give folks a couple of minutes to respond to that poll.
There's got to be like one devil's advocate in there, but it doesn't look like we're going to see him.
I'm hoping for more than one, but we'll see.
I mean, it's pretty scary, right, to think that the three of the largest manufacturers in the business, none of them are using LFP. I know Tesla's moving towards it, but
yeah, we'll see how long.
We'll see. Yeah, it'll be next spring. 2028 comes around.
Okay, that's probably enough time for everybody to put in their preference. Love to see the results here. Everybody's on the LFP train, so you guys made some smart decisions in your chemistry there, Justin.
All right. Well, thank you. I mean, yeah, I could probably, these are pretty loaded questions, guys. I could have been
yeah,
been a little more balanced, offered a little more competitiveness here, but yeah. So why don't we talk a little bit? Yeah, Aaron, what do you got for me?
I mean, I think I just wanted to take a second to kind of like reiterate the reasons that BayWa is choosing to work with Franklin. Not only do you guys understand how the distribution to installer channel works and are acting as great partners both to us and to our customers, but your product offers a lot of power and a simple package that's extremely scalable. I think the thing that was most convincing for me was coming to understand the ability of the Franklin A-Power and A-Gate to work together to help folks avoid main panel upgrades. I know that, in some jurisdictions, main panel upgrades are 10K, but in other areas, depending on the copper that's coming into the house, you could be talking about something on the scale of $30,000 to $50,000 if folks are tearing up the street to access underground wiring. So that is a huge selling point, and it opens up a lot of opportunity for our customers to be able to offer storage as a viable application solution for their home, even if they're maybe working with a smaller panel.
Yeah, I love that, Aaron. Thank you, man. I mean, that's it, right? There's a lot of behind the meter what's happening now, and we are a behind the meter ecosystem, right? This is taking your independence back. We're trying to give our customers infrastructure for electrification and give them options, right, for power sources outside of the grid. That's really simply put. What is whole home power, right? This is where it starts getting interesting, and there's lots of calculators and different things out there, but I wanted to give you guys just kind of a quick peek at where the A-Power and the system and the A-Gate system kind of where we shine, right? As we all know, a single battery, 5 kilowatts of continuous output is going to work great for most of the appliances in a home, but none of the large ones, right? Like our lights, our fridge, our internet, our garage, those all use around anywhere between 3 and 16, 17 amps. If you want to do that on a kilowatt hour area, it's basically most homes are going to use between 0.5 and 4.5 kilowatts at any given time. That's going to be the demand. However, things like, say, a HVAC system, water heater, our washing machine, our dryer, those run at a little higher amperage. And what we're going to discuss in a second is going to be our smart circuits. But I want to show you here, give you a picture of the whole home design, right? With one battery, We're going to hook up all the main appliances, and then we can connect some of the larger appliances like the dishwasher, washing machine, dryer to the battery. Those smart circuits will shed the battery when there's not enough load side support from, say, the panels. If you're not getting solar boost during the day and you had a bunch of lights on, you try to run your washing machine, there's not enough power, it's just going to turn that breaker off. It's going to shed it, right? You can also program those circuits, say, for around 50% to keep your battery from your AC from draining it all the way down, right? Okay, we can rely on fans at 4 a.m. while we're sleeping, right? So there's the little things that you're going to see in a second where we really can control it. But from a 2 battery second, once you've got 2 A powers on there, you're running things like a 3-ton, 4-ton HVAC, heat pumps, electric stove, well pumps. Again, we're landing those in the smart circuits where we can better manage the energy. We don't want to drain our batteries. And also we want to give the opportunity if the customer is using too much energy at a certain time in an outage, that they can still get their house fired up and get it turned on, right? It's going to get rid of these larger appliances so it can start the house up effectively and the customer can start making those decisions. 3A powers, guys, at this point in time, you're running 64 amps, continuous 128 amp surge. If you're using more than that at any given situation, it is what it is. Get more batteries. But that's going to be very few of your customers are going to be in the 4, 5, 6 battery range. But we see them, and every day we build a new off-grid 8 battery system, or it's really cool to see these things go in. To date, the largest system we've seen is now 12 batteries, but that was all on a single 200 amp service. So we have seen some 400 and 600 amp battery systems as well. So speaking of that, high capacity. Like why did we choose a big battery, right? Why are we starting at 13.6 kilowatt hour? Why not make 2 6s that add up to 13.6, give it more versatility? Well, the reality is, guys, a 6 kilowatt hour battery is pretty worthless. Like, it's not going to do a whole heck of a lot. You're talking about a very tiny amount of energy. A 7 to 12 kilowatt solar system is going to generate 50 to 70 kilowatt hours in the summer per day. So where does that power go when you have a 5, 10 kilowatt, even 20 kilowatt hour battery, right? It doesn't get used. It either gets net metered for less money, unless you're in a 1-to-1 net metering place, then, you guys are selling batteries for an entirely different value proposition. But if it's not going to be used, utility doesn't net meter, right? That power is wasted. It's not usable. A 10 or 20 kilowatt battery will not be sufficient to avoid major losses during solar high season for systems like an 8 kilowatt. It is what it is. An NEM 3.0, I see here a lot of talk about the grid battery, and I think we've got a poll coming up shortly versus like time of use grid batteries versus like backup batteries, right? Well, the beauty of backup batteries is they actually are large enough to hold that storage that's being generated, right? A 3 battery system with an 8 kilowatt, 9 kilowatt in a high producing area, that's going to utilize every ounce of their investment in that solar system to begin with.
Awesome. So you've already previewed it, but let's go ahead and drop the poll here as we're moving to that next slide. So the poll this time is: do you believe that NEM 3 will best be served by high capacity backup or time of use systems being pushed by Enphase and SolarEdge?
Probably should have given this poll before I skewed everybody.
Yeah, you might have poisoned the well, as they say.
Jumps them. Yeah. No, this is a really important conversation, and especially for your sales brokers and the people that are on the outside, right? Sometimes we don't take for granted, or we don't take enough credit for how much they influence the market decisions, what they're being told. We may have educated them the right way, but those guys are wild animals. So
it's probably been up for long enough. Let me go ahead and see if we can't close that out and check out the results here. Looks like we've got some fans of time of use, but by basically 2 to 3, we're seeing high capacity backup went out here.
Right. And I think that that is a fair shake of how our industry is taking this, right? I was very surprised to see some of our manufacturing partners in the space really pushing this model, because I think it is a true up nightmare, for your customers a year from now when they get those bills. But we will see. This is all a new frontier, and we're all learning as we go, right? Um, so real quick on the battery warranty before we move into our A gate, and a lot of warranties out there, they all seem to be exactly the same with like the same language. Like one lawyer wrote the warranty for 11 different companies, right? It's
Mhm.
all 10-year, can't be more than 90 degrees. We need a thermal heat detection here and this. So our warranty is really simple, right? There's no cycle limit to start. We do not list a cycle limit or a cycle restriction. We guarantee 70% of the total usable power at the end of 12 years. It is a 12-year warranty. There are no heat restrictions up to 122 degrees. So we've let the guinea pigs and the people that tested this really push it over these last years, and we've seen batteries in areas like Vacaville sitting in the middle of summer outside with unfortunately very little shade to no shade, um, still holding 100% of their charge through the summer. But more importantly, it's a 43 mega. We want these not installed in direct sunlight. Like, I want to be very clear: do not install this directly in the sun. It's bad. It's
Yeah.
bad practice, right? Like, just don't do it. Don't swear in front of your grandma, and don't install these in direct sunlight. Those are two life lessons I try to keep to myself. Also waterproof. So pretty cool stuff for those of you guys in Florida and hurricane areas. We did have a lot of these batteries installed that survived Hurricane Ian. And we will be launching a really cool video of a guy whose basement was completely drowned in water, about 31 inches of standing water. When he turned his batteries on the following day after it had been drained, they still worked, and he was able to use that power. I think it was 11 days before he got power on his home. He was able to use the battery, utilize the solar to clear out his house from being basically a toxic situation for him and his wife. So when we say that there's a feature and then there's a benefit, like, you can't underestimate, guys, preparedness and the benefit of that when this happens. Like, there is no monetary value to knowing that your wife is okay, your kids are okay, and you're going to be able to stay cool, healthy, fed, all those things in disaster.
A couple of questions have come up about the warranty real quick. Is there an altitude cap on the warranty?
So I think it's at 9,300 feet.
Okay. We can double check the warranty language though to be sure.
Yeah.
And that's posted in the BayWa web store, so you can check that out even if you don't have an account. And then someone points out that 12 years is a long time for a battery technology. How will Franklin address these new technologies for existing customers? So I'm not sure entirely where they're going with that, but maybe it's just trying to understand how will Franklin make sure that the product works with things.
Yeah. Well, and we're new, right? Like, how long have we been? We haven't even been in business for 12 years. So how can we guarantee a 12-year warranty, right? Remember when Enphase came out with the 25-year warranty? We were like, oh, okay, sure, whatever, right? We just sold it. They were brand new. We didn't care, but we walked right out there and told customers 25 years. And somehow they kind of fulfilled it, right? They got through it. In our case, we have a very specific replacement option, right? So there's really two components in this battery that would ever need to be replaced, but we don't do that, guys. We're going to swap them. We're confident in the battery's ability to work and stand because we spent 4 years testing it. I'm going to show you guys some of the robust testing in a minute, but it wasn't like we came to market and said, like, hey, here's a product, let's let you guys test it and try it out for us. That's not what we did here. We did that to Hawaii for a year before we brought it to the rest of you. The reality is we made sure to run this on all these things, make sure that this worked, make sure that it was going to work with the different inverters, all the different products. I mean, our first installs you guys are going to see are pretty heavy as I give you a tour, as I walk you through the R&D side. But to sell a customer on Franklin Whole Home, the battery cell warranty is backed by cattle. So CATL is the largest battery cell manufacturer on the planet, and they guarantee the cell's efficacy. When we do replacements, or when there's an issue, we do a full replacement. That replacement typically takes place within 72 hours at the longest. but we've only had to RMA out of 15 or 1600 of these batteries, 2. And one of those was just purely, we wanted it in the lab. We wanted to be able to test it because it was actually installer error. We've never had a battery go down except for one that got damaged in shipping across the entire United States. So it's in the early stages, right? There's not 20,000, 30,000 of these installed, but it's a pretty big sample size. So with respect to that, we're very confident that not only is our cell backed by a massive worldwide manufacturer of battery cells, but with our robust financing and banking, where we're coming from and the amount of capital we have behind us and the effectiveness of the product, we will be here in 12 years. I think I'd be more concerned about Tesla.
Yeah, so I mean, speaking of Tesla, maybe we can switch gears a little bit and talk about channel discipline and what that's looking like for Franklin compared to some of your competitors. So, I mean, I think, we all know that Tesla is going direct to customers again in some cases, and we're wondering how you see that impacting folks in the field. How's that playing out as far as you've seen in the channel and in the distribution and installer channel?
They're making it hard on our installer channel and our distribution channel, right? This is an industry that requires all hands on deck. We need all the support we can get. That's why we chose this channel, right? Like we believe in our distributors and we see their commitment to the product. Like we have zero plans and zero intention to ever go direct to consumers. Now we talk to consumers all day. They call us about our battery and then we send them to you. Like it's like, here's your free lead. Go talk to this certified area in your area, right? Like we have it. But what I see Tesla doing is they are putting their pricing and the cost of your labor, regardless of how they know your region or not, onto paper. And then they're shaking our industry down and they're requiring you at whatever BS install price they tell you you're going to get paid for it to go out and install it on behalf of the customer. It's a complete end around. It's awful for our industry. Remember when Tesla first started selling solar at $1.60 a watt, right? Like what did that do to your ability to bring home deals that maybe had like an interesting roof or a weird adder here or there, right? It just, I think that unfortunately they butcher the channel, they clog the channel, but then they leave it hanging. It's kind of like a cyclical thing. If you guys can guess, I'm not a big fan of Tesla. That's why like my mission with Franklin is very clear, but I love their cars. I love the rocket ships too. I think that stuff's great. SpaceX. Unfortunately, they can't make their minds up about solar and their batteries. So we're very hyper focused. We do one thing. We manufacture a storage product. So hopefully we can serve you, in a way that supports your channel, that supports your customers, supports your growth, and keeps this thing healthy, right? We don't want to leave you guys stranded either. I've heard nightmare stories of people like waiting on product. So should we move into the secret sauce, Aaron?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about the A-Gate and the A-Power.
So we're doing on time. All right, we're moving. All right, I want to make sure we have time for Q&A. So I'm going to crank through this. So you guys heard about the battery. Most batteries are pretty similar. They all have similar sizing and function of what they do. But this is where we really differentiate ourselves outside of better chemistry and more powerful inverter function. The A-Gate is our energy management device. You can connect battery, solar, grid, generator, and electric vehicle now to the Franklin system. So the A-Gate is going to act as your service entrance. It is UL 869A for you techies out there that are curious. It's a 280 amp bus bar with 200 amp pass through. Works with pretty much any whole home, partial home, non-critical load type setting. It does have smart circuits that are optional to purchase for the system. You're going to see built-in CTs on both the grid connection and the PV and inverter. So those aren't CTs that you have to install at the job site. They're already pre-built. And then we do provide external CTs for complicated designs. And then it's future proof, right? You've got customers that are adding things like EV chargers, new electric appliances, hot tubs, pools, better, newer AC units, right? This is built out with the hardware to allow those customers to expand in the future without having a fear of completely having to redo their electrical, right? The PCS that's built in here is going to manage the output to the grid. It's going to make sure that whatever's happening on the grid is unaffected by what's happening in your home. I'm going to peel off the cover here for a minute, let you guys kind of peek in. We won't get too dirty here, but I do want to give you guys a little bit of a high level walkthrough here of the power electronics internally. So the A-Gate does have our communication module in it. So again, this is another device you don't want to put out into direct sunlight where it's like regularly 100 or 95 degrees. These are sensitive electrical components. Want to keep that in the shade as best we can or inside of a garage. But this communication module, right? You have Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and 4G option to, we have a data plan that's already in, the SIM card's already pre-built. So when you're commissioning the system, the homeowner has an option to add a 4G data plan. You can add up to 15.4 kilowatt per A-Gate. And then with our AP box, which we'll discuss in a second, you can add an additional 15.4 kilowatt per A-Gate or 64 continuous amps. And this system is going to island itself, right? How do we have that off-grid function? We have the ability, as long as you were matching the PV inverter size to the battery inverter size, as long as it's a 1-to-1, we'll show in a second, you're going to have both load side support of the solar and the batteries. The batteries fill up. There's nowhere for the solar to go. We're going to turn off the solar and run purely off the batteries. Right. So that relay is for systems where you might have 25, 30 kilowatt, but only have 4 or 5 batteries. We can bring that system down so that you're still getting 20 kilowatt of the solar with 20 kilowatt of the battery. Now, again, we'll dig into that in a minute. We've got 80 amps of connection at the solar and 100 amp connection at the A power. We've got non-backed up lugs for any additional PV that you need to connect. And then again, we have a load side breaker down here at the backup port. There are smart circuits. One is a 240 volt, 80 amp smart circuit. The other is a 120 volt, 50 amp split smart circuit. These are great for things like a pool pump, air conditioning unit. Oh, you can add 2 level 2 chargers to the 80 amp 240 volt circuit, right, for your electric car without having to do an upgrade on the home. These can also, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it looks like I lost the smart load 50 amp single phase. Or
yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, that's that second to last red breaker there for folks.
Yeah, he's hiding, and that split one can be combined, right? So you can combine that circuit to a 240 volt 50 amp. So very common for people to build kind of what I like to call the non-essential load panel. So things that are maybe they don't really care about or need, but they like, and they'll build a sub panel, and that's controllable again off the app where it controls all those appliances with one button, right? Keep it really simple. Don't let grandma get lost behind a bunch of turned off appliances. It's just, do I want to run my AC? Turn it off, turn it on, set it to shut off at 50%. Lots of cool stuff like that. If you're in a time of use area, you can actually program those smart circuits to be dead during certain hours so that your wife doesn't start the laundry when, in San Diego when it's 81 cents a kilowatt hour. So there's a lot, or me, because I'm the one who does laundry in our house. I have no cognitive sense of when my time of use rates are with SRP, right? Like I just use my energy. And if I went to go try to do that at 7 p.m., it wouldn't work. I just say no. So there's a lot of cool little functions that you can put into there. I have a lady in Hawaii. She lives off grid, and her system, pre-existing system, her kids would drain the battery every time they went surfing and showered before school. So she actually sits there in her kitchen in the morning and like turns off the hot water heater on them. And she's like, it's the greatest joy of my life. Bugging these teenagers.
Awesome. Just want to give you a 10-minute warning here as well.
Yeah, we'll keep moving here. So with that being said, you can generator connection up to a 50 kilowatt generator, 200 amps, and then obviously a 200 amp grid connection for people using a 400 amp service will require 2 A gates. Okay. Again, 280 amp bus bar, 200 amp pass through, smart circuits off of the main bus bar. All of these things are going to help you avoid MPUs. If you go to our website and get certified, once you get certified, there's a ton of additional content from like people like Bill Brooks, walking you through how to avoid main panel upgrades in certain situations. We did just add the AP box. So if you have a tricky large design or a large system, or maybe you're working with multiple inverters because it's an add-on system, this is a great option to put an additional external CT so you can track what's coming in off that PV, but it also allows us to shut the system down to match whatever the grid profile, off-grid profile is. More importantly, you can extend a run up to 500 feet with this AP box. So for disconnected garages, areas where the PV is located far away, this is going to save you a lot of money and time. One last thing, because we're just so proud of this. I think we want to create a main panel avoidance ticker, right? I think that would be like, that's like the metric I want to get on the website. Again, when we're talking about power transfer, guys, this is instant, 16 milliseconds. So, our background is we got a lot of our engineers are coming from Emerson Power, where it was kind of wholly focused on data grade chips and that kind of thing. So this is something we do really well. Our ATS, as I mentioned in the previous slide here, is built into the A gate. So no external CTS on those off-grid systems. And, because it's a 5 kilowatt inverter, again, if you're building a system off-grid, make sure to size the PV to be reflective of the battery inverter size as you stack the batteries. So try not to do more than 10 kilowatt on a 2 battery system off-grid. So those, if you do, then you would want to put them to the non-backed up lugs. But again, in an off-grid system, you're very rarely going to do that. You're always going to have way more storage than solar. A couple quick talking points. Again, founded in 2019, over 400 employees worldwide. 60% of our workforce is focused on R&D, backed by multiple investment funds, some of the largest in the world, and used by 4 out of the 5 nation's top solar installers. So the only one on there currently not being used is Sunrun, but even that's still in legal talks, right? So realistically, when you're talking to homeowners, let them know that we are robust. We have been around for a while. Just as a product, we wanted to wait before we threw this on the market to make sure that everything was perfect, right? That it was ready to go. And we're not perfect. We still have improvements and things that we can do. And it's something we do every day, right? We've got a massively growing assembly line. Our warehouse where we're storing the products, we make approximately 1,800 batteries a month right now. So we are moving through a incredible amount of volume and plenty of supply. So we want to make sure you guys are going to have batteries when you need them. From a testing side, we do have the UL 9540A. So these can be installed 4 inches apart from each other in most jurisdictions. If you're in a weird area or in a state where they don't have a lot of documentation on this, just let us know and we're happy to provide all of this for you and help kind of carry the torch with your utilities or AHJs in those areas. But you can see we lit this on fire with gasoline. It didn't explode, dropped it out of the sky, overcharged. We're having fun over here at Franklin, I promise. And I imagine we only got a couple minutes, so I want to walk you guys through a couple installs real quick. This is a great design. Even $10 million homes, right, lose power. And this particular home, the customer's daughter is actually on medical devices. So it was imperative that we isolate the medical device to make sure it's running, get the large loads onto the smart circuits so they were shuttable. For you engineering guys, there's Bill Brooks. He's got these installed on his home in Vacaville. His son actually is our NorCal tech. And we love that he was such a big fan of the Franklin because we were big fans of Bill. So it was kind of a good marriage there. And then lastly, the 2 systems I wanted to show you before we close this up. This is a Solar Edge and an Enphase system combined into the Franklin. So just to remind you guys, anything is possible. You're not limited to equipment, or you can even bring in foes to be friends on a system like this. works in cold weather, and we do have storm hedge. So if there is a storm coming, tornado, hurricane, it's going to charge the battery off the grid automatically, move it into backup mode so that the customer has a full battery for that disaster event. And again, we have heat blankets in these things. So in cold areas, this customer was able to get snow off of his house, keep the battery charge in off of his panels. He had all the neighbors following the big blue light. He said it was kind of weird.
If you thought those lights were eerie when they're shining on a normal night, just imagine if everybody else doesn't have power, though.
Right. It's right. And in the Ozarks too,
Yeah.
right? You're like, it's aliens. And then lastly, this is my kind of flagship system. This is our baby. This is an off-grid, bunch of panels on a shipping container. They built a 6,300 square foot luxury home in Maui with this system. 2 batteries, buzz saws, table saws, rebar bender, compressor, really valuable sine waves.
Oh,
And
wow. So
yeah,
you're saying they actually built the home with the Franklin battery as the power source. That's
it's
really
done.
cool.
I just haven't added the picture of the house yet for privacy because they haven't signed their media waiver, but it's sick. Yeah. So that's really it, you know, guys. I mean, from at the end of the day, like we really see this as a partnership. We want to be here to serve you. So we're hoping that we all get to have a conversation. We've got RSMs all over the country now serving the Northeast, the Southeast, the Midwest, the Southwest, and the Northwest. So yeah.
You guys have a fantastic team that you've assembled, and we're really excited to finally be working with you. I know it's been in the works for a while for us. We do have a few questions and a few minutes to run through them, so let's do our best here. First up, what's the warranty in Latin America?
So in Puerto Rico, you have a 12-year warranty. For LATAM markets, we are currently working on getting service and scaling there, but right now we do not have a warranty for outside of the residential US, outside of Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yeah, but we are working on LATAM markets. Give me 6 months.
Awesome. So we want folks to stay in touch as we run through that. And let's see, we've got another couple of questions here. So can you please get the Franklin battery listed on the Open Solar design platform? So it sounds like we need to do some work with Open Solar to get y'all listed.
It should be on there. I think you need to ask them to put it on there. We didn't give them like the visuals, but it should be in the calculating tool. If it's not, set up a call. Aaron, you can provide my cell phone number. Actually, I can put it into the chat, right?
You may not be able to put it into the chat for everyone, but we can certainly include your contact when we send the follow-up email to folks.
That'd be great. Yeah, so put that contact. Let me know if you have an issue with that, and I'm happy to call the guys at Open. But I just saw them on the 9th last month, and I thought we were good to go.
Okay, yeah, so there may be a little bit of a request that needs to happen on your end there. Next question we've got here. Does the Franklin APP integrate with the Enphase Enlighten APP to track both solar and battery?
Yeah, so you will be able to see from your Enphase system what your Enphase system is doing. If the customer wants to look at panel by panel level monitoring, then they're going to need to go to their Enphase app. But the Franklin app shows you what the house is using in real time, what the solar is producing, what the batteries are doing and charging. You can actually go right now to the Apple Store or the Google Play and download the FranklinWH app. And there is a demo system that you can play with and see all the different
Very
functions.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So next question here, just confirming that that with the Franklin battery, there's no need for a dedicated critical load panel. And it sounds like it depends, but go ahead and explain.
Yeah, in California, they're going to want, depending on the install, right? If you're doing a partial home backup, then you would need a dedicated load panel. Areas like Texas and Florida, the guys just throw a few batteries up and back up the whole panel.
Yeah, just depends on how many batteries you're throwing on.
Exactly. Be smart about it. It's better to build a non-critical load panel than a critical load panel with our battery, right? So we have non-backed up lugs, you have the whole home backup lugs, but you can also build off the smart circuits.
Okay. Make sure you've got anything that, you need
and we'll support engineering. So if you have an SLD that you want us to review, by all means, send it our way and we're happy to give guidance.
Awesome. Got a couple more. I'll try to get them in under the wire here. So can the system be DC coupled?
No. So this is an AC coupled system.
Great. Okay. And is the system compatible with three-phase 240 Delta communication service? So if somebody's got a high leg or
Yeah, no 480,
setup.
unfortunately. We figured out 240, we figured out 208. 480 is the next or 408 is the next move for us. We do not have three-phase, but we
Okay.
will we'll be releasing a commercial product at the end of 2024.
So this was for a three-phase with a 240 Delta. There's
Then
one
yeah,
leg with.
that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And what can the folks on the line today and watching the video later, what can they do to get started to become a Franklin installer? What's their next step here?
All right. Great question, guys. So we're going to go to www.franklinwh.com. And from there, you're going to fill out the I am an installer. So I think you click contact us. There should be a thing that pops up,
Mhm.
but if it doesn't, click contact us. There's brief form, takes 3 to 4 minutes to fill out. Once that's done, shoot me or any of us a follow-up email to say, hey, I just completed my certification so that I can make sure it gets expedited. Typically, it takes us 2 to 3 days once you've signed up for certification to review, back check your license, and initiate, your fleet management portal. So once you fill out that little 3 minutes sheet, we'll get you all the training modules. It's about 9 modules, takes about 3 hours of training to get certified to commission.
Fantastic. And then once you've got that certification, please go ahead and make sure you inform your BayWa sales rep. We're tracking those certifications and trying to make sure that we're selling in line with the requirements that Franklin's established to only allow certified installers to be buying the product. We did have one last question pop up. I know we're at time, but we'll ask it since we've got you here. Can sales orgs only be certified to train? So folks who are not doing the installation, is there a training and certification path for them?
So we are in the process of having a certified sales professional portal. In the meantime,
Very cool.
you can request technical training from your EPC. So if you're a sales org, I would recommend talking to your guys, say, hey, my guys want to get, up to speed on how this thing works. It is pretty technical and very electrical. So I hope to have some more nuanced, easy content for you in the next 30 to 45 days as we launch this program. Yeah.
Awesome.
But set a training up with me and I'll set you up for it.
Yeah, that sounds good. And again, we'll go ahead and include your contact info on our follow-up email. We really appreciate everyone's time today. We're really excited to be launching this partnership with FranklinWH. If you do have questions pop up, you can reach out to Justin, or you can always contact your BayWa sales rep. As I mentioned, the FranklinWH products are now available in the BayWa web store. So if you want to check out more information about the product, including reading the warranty language or seeing spec sheets and installation guides, please go ahead and head to our web store. And if you're not already a customer, go ahead and click that register button and get signed up while you're there. We'd love to work with you.
Dig it. Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Justin. This was fun. Look forward to doing it again.
All right, buddy. Count on it. See ya.
Take care.